Hi, my name is Jill Cruz. I have a Master of Science degree in Human Nutrition and I'm a certified nutrition specialist. I've been working in a functional medicine practice since 2011, and so I work with a wide variety of conditions and I use many different tools, whether it's dietary, fitness, or lifestyle, to help people with their health. One aspect of health that everyone is concerned about is stress. There is a great tool out there and it's called heart rate variability. Heart rate variability actually shows you how well your body is adapting to the stressors in your life. Heart rate variability is an invaluable tool that you can use in the comfort of your own home to keep tabs on how well you're doing with stress and your stress management. It's super easy to do and it won't take up a lot of your time. Heart rate variability, also known as HRV, has been studied extensively in relation to various chronic diseases, such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, inflammation, metabolic syndrome, obesity, cancer, and more. Study after study is showing that the lower your heart rate variability is, the higher your risk for disease. So what is HRV? HRV stands for, as I said, heart rate variability. So it's measuring the variability of your heartbeat. So you may think if you have a resting heart rate of 60 beats per minute, that every second your heart is beating like a clock. But that is not how it works at all. As a matter of fact, there is variability in how often your heart beats. So one beat may be 0.8 of a second. The next beat may be 1.2 seconds. The next beat may be 1 second. And the next beat may be 0.9 of a second. So your heart rate, how often your heart beats, it varies. And we want it to vary. As a matter of fact, the healthier you are, the higher your heart rate variability will be. So there will be more variability if you're healthy. So people who are younger will have a higher HRV. People who are healthier will have a higher HRV. People who work out frequently and meditate will have a higher HRV. Even if you're in your 60s, if you're meditating frequently and you're exercising frequently and you're managing your stress, you're going to have a higher HRV, even perhaps higher than somebody who's 30 years younger than you. So that's pretty cool. On the flip side, people who have cardiovascular disease or diabetes will have a lower HRV. People who have cancer will have a lower HRV. People who are at risk for cardiovascular disease or at risk for diabetes will have a lower HRV. People who don't work out and don't manage their stress and don't take care of themselves will have a lower HRV. Older people will generally have a lower HRV than younger people unless they're working out and managing their stress, sleeping well, and taking care of themselves. So this is a huge indicator of your overall health. And you can control it, you can change it and see what's happening as you're making changes. It's a great way to measure if you're working out too much, if you're not managing your stress well enough, if you need to meditate more, if you need to sleep more. So don't you want to look at this? Don't you want to check it out? I can't even imagine why somebody wouldn't want to do this. And it's super easy to do. That's the other thing. So I'm going to show you how to measure your HRV. Once you have your heart rate monitor on, open your Elite HRV app on your phone. The first thing you'll see is the Morning Readiness screen. Press Morning Readiness and it will take you to the next screen. On that screen, you'll see your heart rate and your heart rate variability. Wait a moment until your heart rate settles a little bit before you press Start. Note that I have the default time set at 5 minutes. This is what the reading looks like partway through. When you're done, you can add some notes and other information, and then press Save. This is what a final reading looks like. Here you can see my heart rate variability, and you can see my average resting heart rate for those 5 minutes. Right here you see a number 10. This is showing your relative balance between your parasympathetic mode and your sympathetic mode. These are branches, 2 different branches of the autonomic nervous system, of your nervous system that functions autonomically without your conscious effort. The sympathetic side represents what is known as the fight or flight, or the stress state. The parasympathetic is known as the rest and digest, or you could call it the relaxation state. This number here, this relative balance, is based on your history. So even though my HRV is 50 this day, it's actually low for me. It's showing up as a perfect score of 10, which means I'm nicely balanced between these 2 states. This is based on the average of what's been happening for the past 7 days. So during this week, most of the days my HRV was lower than 50, which it's because I wasn't meditating and I was very busy. So the system in the Elite HRV app has shifted and adapted to what's going on in my body, and it's showing me, yes, compared to the last week, your balance between your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous system is very good. There's a good balance going on. But in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, my HRV is very low. What can I do to get it higher? Now, this reading was taken actually 2 days before the previous reading, and my HRV was 67, which is more on the normal side for me. But you can see the system, because there were so many days where my HRV was low, some days it was in the 30s, the app is reading me as being too much in the parasympathetic mode. And that's the rest and digest relaxation mode. Now you may think, well, that's a good thing, right? It is a good thing, but if you're chronically over here, then that means that you probably need to start exercising or getting up and moving more. But again, this number here adjusts to your norm. So if you go 5 or 6 or 7 days where your HRV is in the high 60s and 70s, eventually this meter will move over here to say, okay, that's where you should be. So it's this number, you have to look at both the HRV and this number and your history, and also think about what you've been doing and if you've been overly stressed or not, and if you've been meditating and exercising and sleeping well, and take all of that into account when you're looking at these numbers. The heart rate is also something interesting to look at. A resting heart rate of 73 for me is very high. The heart rate doesn't really represent what's the norm for me. However, sometimes it does that. I mean, it could be that in the moment my mind is racing and thinking about the day, but overall my body is pretty relaxed. Here you can see that they provide you with some weekly data information. So my average HRV over that week was 48, which is low for me. The average readiness score was 8. And then the heart rate, the average was 67, which is a little high for me. So you can see I was stressed on those days. And you can also see that the yellow days where it's lower, and that's the yellow, meaning, okay, do something about this. For any given day that you measure your HRV, it's going to give you this level of detail of information. If you know a lot about HRV, this will be helpful to you. The time domain results and the frequency domain results. So for some people, that's very useful information. I also just wanted to show you an example of when my heart rate monitor was low on batteries, and this is some craziness that happened. My heart rate was not 149 when I had just woken up in the morning. So sometimes that does happen and there are little glitches, so just be aware of that as well. So now you know how to measure your heart rate variability. All you have to do is get the Polar H10 heart rate monitor and download the free app called Elite HRV onto your phone, and then just make it a habit of every morning for 5 minutes when you wake up, you lie there peacefully and you measure your heart rate variability. This is going to give you so much confidence because you're going to understand your body better. You're going to understand how the stressors in your life are affecting you, and also how whatever it is that you're doing to offset that stress, how it's working. So are you meditating? Is it working or not? You're going to see it in your HRV. It's so empowering. And when you're confident and you're empowered and you understand your body, that is really the true path to health and wellness. is understanding what you need and being empowered in the fact that what you're doing is working or not. It's not a guessing game. It takes out a lot of the angst from the whole process. And it feels great to be confident in, I know what I'm doing and I know how it's affecting my body. There's nothing like it. So I really do encourage you to start measuring your HRV. Obviously, I'm a big fan. So if you have any questions about HRV, please leave me a comment or reach out to me, contact me privately, and I would love to help in any way because I think HRV is great and I think it's the way of the future for health and wellness.